Okay, so today we're talking with Mark Boutros. I'll ask Mark to introduce himself. Obviously, doing this as one of the online working with words sort of podcasts. We're going to talk a little bit about Mark's career and sort of hints and tips for careers in the kind of film TV industry more generally. So, Mark, if I can just get you to sort of introduce yourself, explain who you are, what you do.
Yeah, of course. I'm Mark Boutros. I'm a TV screenwriter and sometimes producer. I've written for CBBC, Sky One, Sky Arts, and the BBC as well.
And what are you kind of working on at the moment? When we've got you, in down the line, what does your day look like?
I'm working on two projects at the moment for CBBC. One is a pilot with an Instagrammer, so it's not for transmission unless they commission it and give us a series. Another one is a new series they're doing. There are six writers. The lead writer is doing 4 episodes, and then the rest of us are doing an episode each, I think, if my maths is correct. So I'm doing one of the episodes of 10 in a new series that obviously they're aiming to film in the school holidays with kids stuff, but that's all a bit touch and go at the moment as to whether that continues or happens later. And then there's The Dumping Ground, which is going into series 9 or 10, I think, on CBBC, and they want me to write an episode of that. But when that happens, at some point in the next few months. So those are the things I'm working on writing wise.
Yeah. So I suppose if we start kind of at the beginning, how did you get into this? How did you start with writing as a career?
Well, with writing, the thing is you have to have something to sell. So you have to write the product, essentially, your script, and then try and sell it to production companies or get an agent interested. So my career started by another, because you kind of need a day job when you're not a paid writer yet. And my break came about, I'd get little jobs working on comedy entertainment shows, writing jokes and things like that, but narrative came about when I had a script optioned. So that went via my agent to a production company. They liked it. They pay a fee for 6 months, and then nothing happened with that script. But through working with them, they said, we have this opportunity of urban myths, pitch us some. I pitched one about Muhammad Ali, ended up co-writing that with the owner of that company, because he was also a writer and producer. We got it made, and then that's what got us nominated for an International Emmy. And from there, I've had little bits of work come and go. So yeah, that kind of, it all took off from there. That was my kind of break into actually being able to make a sustainable living writing.
And that idea of kind of sustaining writing, obviously,
Yeah.
a lot of what you talk about is kind of sort of different ideas, different series. You might work on one episode here or there. What is the kind of, what does that feel like in terms of, obviously a lot of that's freelance, you're pitching work.
Yeah.
How do you kind of sustain that long term? How have you sort of done that in your work?
I have multiple revenue streams essentially. So I'll still produce a storyline for a thriller author, and that I know I'm going to get 3 or 4 of those jobs through the year. So that helps. I'm also a freelancer on a site called Readsy, which is where people look for ghostwriters and editors. So I do prose as well, because it is quite insecure, the TV industry, in the sense of if you only get 1 script a year, that's not enough. You need like 3 or 4. Kids TV pays less than adult TV. If you're doing a pilot, that's 1 fee. You get paid an extra fee if something gets filmed, like a subsequent use advance. And you're not always going to be working on stuff that's being filmed. You'll be working on pilots or developing your own things. So you need other things around. I do copywriting. I wrote for Google for their chatbot. I'm doing a bit of that now for a health company as well. So you find ways to use your skills to do other things, whether it be script editing, writing studio links for another show. So to sustain it, I have about 8 different avenues I go down when I need them. And always trying to find time to generate your own ideas to pitch your own series, really, because working on other people's shows is great, but ultimately I think we all get into it because we want to write our own things. But yeah, my advice is always make sure you have a few jobs you can pick up and put down, like, freelance bits and pieces, with agencies, with other writers, because you do need to find other ways to make money. Like if a series goes away for a year, you're waiting and hoping something else comes in.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, you talked about sort of starting off writing kind of jokes and sort of things for
Yeah.
existing series. How did you get into that? Was that again just a matter of putting yourself forward, or did you have particular links in?
That was through, I sort of, one of the jobs I did alongside writing was to work in production for comedy entertainment shows like Never Mind the Buzzcocks, QI, 8 out of 10 Cats. And it was through that. So I'd be a researcher, but I'd go, hey, can I put some jokes in there? And then they were like, okay, yeah, that's all right. So yeah, well done. And then in future, they'd go, okay, here's a day work. I did a bit of Celeb Juice. I did a bit of Fake Reaction, which had 2 series. So an approach to that is you can send gag samples in to the producers of those shows to try and get the work, or by working on those shows, you prove yourself and they know you personally. So they go, okay, we can trust you to do a day. So that's how that came about. I don't think I would have got it had I tried the approach of samples, because I learned a lot about structure of gags by being on those shows.
Yeah. And that's a clearly experience you get kind of by doing rather than kind of sort of knowing that yourself or making
Yeah, yeah, you can read about it. I'm sure there are blogs and guides about how to structure the perfect jokes and different types, but I just found being around the writers when I was in the rooms sort of scribing and being around that atmosphere, just because I knew the tone of the show more. You know, you've got to know the tone, you've got to know the presenter you're writing for, because ultimately you're writing for someone's voice. So there are a lot of factors that came into it. So you can study it and try and do it that way, or get in on a show, get to know all the people and do it that way as well.
Yeah. So I mean, thinking back, I suppose to when you were at UEA, what did you I'm gonna say what did you learn, but what did you take from your time there that has helped you when you've moved into these different roles and different sort of jobs?
I think a lot of the extracurricular stuff I did, like Livewire, helped a lot because I was working with other people in a kind of production environment, and that did help going forward into the industry. I mean, it's a shame that I don't know what TV station still exists around Norwich. I did some work experience on Trisha, which helped me as well. But through my course, it was mostly the working with other people that helped. My English degree obviously helped because I did a creative writing unit, and that helped me understand a bit of the theory and structure. And then with the film side, it gave me more of a background and reference points in being analytical about some of the shows I was working on. So it helped in that regard. And when employers, when like talkbacks or I did film in English, they were like, oh, cool, that's a really fun degree. You know, we know that you probably want to do this kind of thing, so come on in. So yeah, it helped in that regard. And just, I met a lot of people with similar interests. So it really helped.
Yeah, I mean, do you think you knew enough about the industry before you kind of were trying to get jobs in the industry? And also, I suppose the extension of that is that something you can teach, or is it just something you have to get to know?
I think it's a bit of both, because it changes all the time. I mean, it changes all the time and also stays stuck in a lot of respects. But I think I did a couple of TV units that taught me about filming. The production process, I didn't have one at that time, but I think it's useful to do a lot of your own research into, read up on, like now, when I left uni, Facebook was just starting. So, the culture of people sharing their experiences everywhere on Medium and other blogs and all of that, there's so much more openness about that inner workings of the industry. So you've got all the resources there at your disposal to kind of figure out how something works now. So I think I could have done with knowing a little bit more. I understood what a runner was. I didn't really know what the job of a researcher, an assistant producer, or a producer was in that respect. And by the time I got in on the industry, it had changed. Like, producer roles were no longer as creative as they used to be. They were more putting out fires constantly. So a lot has evolved in that sense as well. And with writing, thankfully the creative writing course taught me a lot of what I needed to know.
Yeah, I mean, do you find that we talked there about kind of working with others and how important that is to kind of, I mean, presumably that's something that's continued through your career, just that sense of knowing how to work with other people and being able to kind of work with them and
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge part of it, because it's freelance. You're a short-term contract, so you'll do 3 weeks here, 3 months there. You're always working with different people, then occasionally the same on different shows. So it's really important, and everyone's trying to contribute ideas, and you have to be open to feedback, because you can't just assume everything you suggest is great, because it isn't. And yeah, I'd say the most important thing is getting on with people, because when you're working silly hours sometimes, you need to know that the people you're working with are people you like being in a room with for that long, and that they like you, and you can all be honest and open with each other. So I think that's one of the most important things. Like, a lot of jobs I've got have been a result of people I've worked with recommending me, or going somewhere else and going, I want you to come with me. So yeah, people relationships are big in this industry.
Yeah. I mean, do you find that helps as well when you're kind of trying to pitch your own ideas, kind of knowing where to go and who to speak to? And
Yeah, totally. Like, you need that. That it helps as well, because people know you, so they understand, they're kind of more open to discussing the ideas with you as well. Like, a lot of my writing jobs as well have come about from people I worked with before who've gone, we've got this project, come in and meet me and the creator, and we'll have a chat. And I know that I probably only got those jobs because they pushed for me, because in the room I thought I was awful in the interview, and then I still somehow got them. So yeah, totally. And then you know who to approach to kind of say, can I have feedback on this, because they'll be more experienced than you and know people in positions to actually get stuff made. So definitely.
yeah. In terms of your kind of day-to-day work, I mean,
Yeah.
you talked earlier on about that kind of having those different kind of streams of activity.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure there probably isn't an average day, but what does a day in your life look like? What kind of, what do you can work on?
When I'm working on, like, from home, I get up at like 6 or 7 and I just start working. And I'll either be, if in regards to scripted, I'll be addressing notes on whether it be an outline, a scene by scene, because there's a process before you get to script, or the script itself. So I'll always do all of that stuff in the morning. And then by about 2 o'clock, I've run out of steam. So I'll do all my admin and looking for other jobs, and the next thing. So a lot of the task is the creative work, and then the admin kind of, you've got to treat yourself as a business in a way at the same time. So that's what I'll do. I'll do the creative stuff before any emails roll in, and then I'll spend the afternoon dealing with that side of thing and looking for the next project. So that's what it generally looks like. Yeah, unless I'm on a production, in which case I'm in an office somewhere, 10 till 6 or 10 till 10. And then, yeah, and then that's it.
And that idea of sorry, I'm trying to think what I'm trying to ask.
No, sorry.
I suppose that sense of learning that side of the business, which is basically where you've got to kind of do admin yourself, or you've got to kind of be your own
Yeah.
boss.
Yeah.
Were you prepared for what that looked like?
I had no idea what that was or what it would be. But for a lot of people, just do the sort of production side of things. So they go from production to production. So it's just really a case of redoing the CV and emailing to people. Because I like doing multiple things, it makes it a bit more scattered in what I do. And so I've sort of learned to be prepared for that, because you have to be resourceful to be able to do jobs in multiple areas, really. But yeah, I had no idea what that would look like until I went, I need work now, and I'm sat here doing nothing. Where I started going on LinkedIn and everywhere else to look for things, and pull it all together.
Yeah. And for your rewriting, I can't remember if you said this earlier on or not. I mean, have you got an agent who's doing work for you as well, kind of pushing you out for jobs?
Yeah, they're brilliant. So the way that works is I sent them a couple of scripts they liked, and they were like, we'll try and sell these. They got me meetings with loads of people. In that process, they get me in to interviews to work on existing shows. So while they do that, I'm generating the scripts, but also you've always got to kind of do your own work as well, push, email people, get in contact with them, because your agent can then work on people they know. So you're doing you're both working towards the same thing at the same time. There are a lot of people who have the expectation of when they get an agent that they can just sit back and write and the agent does everything else, which is not the truth. You have to still be building those relationships yourself and still be contacting people and doing things, because otherwise you're just leaving your fate in someone else's hands, when you can both be pushing for it and maximizing what you can get out of it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're with COVID-19 at the moment, we're in slightly strange circumstances.
Yeah.
But do you think, I mean, is this a good time to be trying to get into the industry? Because we hear all these talk about, all these new productions coming online, and
Mm.
lots of streaming companies wanting to invest in productions. I mean, does that make it a good time to be trying to break in?
I guess it's tricky. It really depends on the role. I think if you are trying to break in, it might be difficult because such as runners' roles will not be very existent because how do you do them from an online thing? It's really about being present, which in a way means that that role might evolve into something a bit more, which would be great. So there, I think it's a good time if you can get in on the right production at the right level and not feel cast adrift, because really when you're starting out you really want that kind of hands-on approach to get to know a show. But I think it's there are positives and negatives um, to trying to get into the industry now. I think there will be less jobs, but at the same time, it means some roles will evolve, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah.
Um,
And I suppose, I mean, we don't want to kind of dwell on the COVID-19 too much, but what's the impact been on you? Or has there been an impact on you particularly?
The impact on me has been in terms of like pay structure, because I'm getting paid to write scripts at the minute. However, the second payment I'd get on them being filmed, that might, the point was to film them in June. That's not going to happen. July, I don't believe will happen. I think that's too optimistic, which means I might not get paid till next summer with the next bunch of big school holidays. And a pilot I was working on, they were going to make a decision on that in late March. Now it's not going to be until autumn. But I haven't has been as heavily impacted as the biggest hits. I think of friends of mine who are directors, because there's not much they can go and direct at the minute. So that's been quite tricky for them, and a lot of productions have shut down or been postponed. So I'm fortunate in that I'm still getting one layer of my work, but when it gets filmed is a mystery now. So I've been hit in that respect. Everything's basically taken a delay effect kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I suppose coming back to given that a lot of people watching this will be sort of current UEA students,
Yeah.
probably in their could be first, second year, could be third years about to graduate.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give? I mean, we've talked
Yeah.
sort of specifically about some of the stuff you've done, but what advice would you give to people trying to come into the industry now, or what
Yeah.
should they be doing sort of right now?
If you want to be a writer, write a script. Find agents who represent writers you like and try to get in with them. Find production companies who make the shows you like and look up the producers and try and email them. A lot of the time, you will see we don't take unsolicited material. Still check, because some of them still do. And do that. But if you want to be a writer, if you haven't written anything, then there's nothing you can do. So you need to write and keep writing, and make sure you're writing more than one thing, so that when they go, we like this, but it's not quite right, what else have you got? You've got something else up your sleeve, or have some ideas armed. If you're trying to get into production, my tip would be, again, find the companies that make the shows you like and get in there. Like, say, you want to do running work, you love that show, love to work on it one day, because you don't want to work on shows that are nothing to do with what you're doing, because it does become trickier to move sideways. You have to kind of be fortunate in terms of your timing, and that someone who says, yeah, come along and do this. So I'd say do your research into the companies that make the shows you want to be involved in.
Yeah. Is it fair to say that you need to also know the type of things that you like? Because I think I was talking to somebody about sort of careers the other day, and they were saying, it's important to be able to kind of to be passionate about the stuff that you think is good or bad that happens at the moment. Is that fair for kind of the writing side as well?
I think for the writing side, it's relatively fair because of the genres you get into, but it really depends on the writer. Like, I keep doing comedies, yet I'm more interested in drama now because I spent 10 years pursuing the comedy thing. And when actually I prefer that now because I've changed my tastes. So I'll work on anything really, but I would say it is true, because you need to, people are going to invest in you. So if they want you to write on their show, they need to know you care about it. Because that's what they want. They want people who can actually improve the show because they have knowledge of it and care about it. But it's not a deal breaker if you're not. Really what they do is people invest in people. Loving what they're doing is great, but knowing that you like the kind of thing they're doing and are trying to figure it out is still okay. A lot of us don't know 100% what we want, so it's very difficult to go and go, I really love this, I really want to be part of it, because you're not being genuine. But I think, show that you care about the job as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be about the show if you really care about the job and want to learn on a show, and because the show is well respected and is good. But don't go in there going, I don't like your show, I just want the job. So don't say you don't like stuff, but if you are passionate, it helps. But don't discount yourself from a job if it's something you want to do, but the show isn't something that well. Doesn't mean you won't like it. It's just you don't know it that well. So yeah. I don't know if that answered any question whatsoever. But yeah.
I mean, is that true of you? I mean, I'm presuming you didn't go into this to go and work and do children's television. Is that sort of true of you just kind of moved into that because it's where the opportunities were, or?
Yeah, I did, and there was my agent, so they put me forward for a shadow scheme for the show The Dumping Ground. I'd never seen it, but I watched it. I loved the writing, so that was an example of me going, well, I don't really know what this is, but I am now. I do like the writing. I think it's brilliant, and now I like the show. So I watched all 9 series for the interview, and then or 8 series at the time, and went for that. So you do end up in places you're not sure you were going to end up, and that's fine as long as you enjoy the shows you end up on. Like, it happens to a lot of people who work in comedy sometimes end up on like a factual entertainment show because people want to make it slightly funny, and then they're not slightly funny, but they've been doing factual entertainment and enjoy it quite a lot. So yeah, there are slight, while it's difficult to move sideways, you can move sideways when your skill set is applicable to something else as well. But yeah, so you don't know where you'll end up. Your passions will change, what you like will change, and your priorities will change when you go, I don't want to work on a first series anymore because the hours are more brutal than something that's in like series 5. So yeah, so it all evolves really.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else you kind of want to sort of say? Any kind of the last sort of bits, pieces of advice? Having got to the end of my questions, is there anything else you want to say?
I'd say when looking for work, the thing is to find those people to get in touch with, and don't be disheartened if you don't get a reply. If someone's on production, they are genuinely busy. It's weird when someone says, sorry, I haven't replied for 3 weeks, I've been busy, because you go, no one's that busy, but people do get forgetful, and because of the barrage of meetings and things they have to sort out. So I'd say email people. If you don't hear anything, chase them, but not every couple of weeks. Give them like 4 weeks, I'd say. And then try again. It can seem like a lot when you're looking for opportunities, but people do, when they see those reminders, will be like, oh no, I need to check. So, but if it happens too regularly, they'll start to find people annoying. There's a fine line between annoying someone and, because ultimately they're going to be doing you a favor. So always be polite and appreciative of people's time, and just keep trying, because a rejection is never a personal thing. It's normally to do with timing and opportunities. Like my first gig, I heard nothing for like 6 months and then tried again. And because they were hiring 3 people at that time, I got an interview. So keep going. And with writing, be prepared to be rejected. Like, rejection becomes a daily part of your routine. Like, you wake up and there's an email, this person liked the script, but they don't want it, or this person didn't like the script at all. So I would say for anyone wanting to get into writing, get that first script out there so you can get the rejections and it starts to hurt a little bit less. Like, it still always hurts, but the more you get used to it, the more you realize it's never anything personal. So, but you have to be prepared to share your work, because collaboration and feedback is a massive part of what you do as a writer. You're going to end up getting the opinions of 7 or 8 people when you're actually getting paid to write. So it doesn't get any easier in the sense of opinions and notes. So, no matter how experienced you are, the other day I got 4 pages of notes, and you're like, oh. But that is the job. So the best way to warm up for it is to get your script out to people, and not just your friends and family, because they will always say, yeah, it's great. And you want to get it to other writers or, professionals. If you don't join writers groups, you need people who are going to be brutally honest, but also constructively honest. Yeah,
Great.
but that would be my main kind of advice. Just put yourself out there, essentially.
Yeah. Well, great. Look, thank you very much. We'll probably just cut that there just so we can keep this to a decent length. But
Yeah.
so yeah, Mark, thank you very much, and
Thank you.
we'll just